Hello, Cyber Babies. It's the even more fabulous Mother Love and Mr. Kennedy on a historic day. Hey, I hope everyone is doing well wherever you are, whatever your climate, because the climate is getting crazy on the East Coast. They're talking about storms all the way up the East Coast. You know, there are times when you got to be really, really glad that you are on in California and embracing the wonderful California weather. Oftentimes it gets really kind of hectic for us too. We have riots and fires and mudslides and all this. I don't understand to this day, why do people in California build their house on stilts when it can slide down the mountain?
Well, first of all, they wouldn't build them on the stilts because they thought they was going to slide down the hill to start with. I mean, that's the first thought. They never anticipated that happening because they thought they were being built correctly to withstand when we do have big rainstorms, and even if the ground got soft, it would never give away. That's the difference.
Wait, what happened here?
Okay, you trying to make you want what you did when that other screen came up. You should have clicked off of that. You clicked on it, and that's what changes to this.
Okay, well, so what can I do? It said that's not available, but nonetheless, we can go on with the program. You know, it's just what hey, okay. What happens. It's an aesthetic.
Yes, it is. But we're trying to get you to wait a minute. We're trying to get it to work.
But we do this every day.
No, because you clicked the wrong button.
It's always my fault, y'all. It's always my fault.
Yeah, because you clicked. If you click the wrong button,
can we just get? Oh yeah, right. It's me. It's me. Oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. I need prayer.
Yes, you do.
And I need singing lessons. So nonetheless,
on top of
crazy is happening around the country, around the world. We got two wars going on between the Russians and the Ukrainians, and then you got over here with Israel and Hamas bombing Israel and acting like Israel don't get the opportunity to defend themselves. What is your take on that? Because you be up with a lot of this and they got the kids protesting at Columbia because they're pro-Palestinian. Then you got the anti-Israelis. Then you got the supporters for the Israeli for Israel. What the heck is going on? Why they keep going through this?
Well, first of all, if you start back at the time, biblical times, I mean, going back 2,000, 4,000 years ago, when America was not even thought of, because part of this we have to realize that these events that are occurring in the Middle East was going on long before
any of us were on the planet. Generations of us
thought of would even to have.
But see, that's where they start feeling people with hate when they're kids. Okay.
Well, you feel it. Yeah, as a child, you can be told to dislike somebody, and because you know no better, you take what your parents are saying to you and the adults around you as being the gospel, whether it's the gospel or not. I mean, why people in America don't always understand what's going on or know
or don't want to,
or just truly don't understand because it's on the other side of the world. You're not being faced with that on a day-to-day basis.
And you bringing up that because it's on the other side of the world, but they bring it to our doorstep. We got students at Columbia University in New York protesting against the battle over the Palestinians, and Israel want to wipe them off the face of the planet, and
they want to wipe
Israel off the face of the planet because of the union. And when you think about it and you read the Bible, and they've been talking about Israel way before in the 1940s when Israel was granted state, when they got statehood and they became sovereign, they became democracies. And then the Palestine, it's like this much land that they fighting over, that they got 1.3 million people on this little patch of land, and they're fighting over, let's destroy them. So you think that Israel is working to destroy the Palestinians or destroy Hamas, the terrorist group?
Well, unfortunately, if both end up happening, they wouldn't be just bent out of shape that it happened. That's the unfortunate part.
Wait, who wouldn't be bent out of shape? The people?
Yeah, unfortunate. Because once again,
which people? The people that are Palestinians or the people who are Israelis?
Israelis. I mean, once again, if you go back to the Bible, because see, all of this, majority of this, or all of it truly, is based on what was written in the Bible about one group versus the other group.
Right. They were always fighting. Well,
I mean, unfortunately, we have people that you don't like or don't get along with. That's not uncommon for it to happen.
Okay, but these people don't even know the other people that they're fighting against or fighting for.
But they do though. I mean, wait a minute. People in America, wait a minute. It's different for people in America. It's different for people in America than for people who actually live over there.
Right.
And you're being affected by this on a day in and day out basis. That's one thing when you're actually there and you see how you have to go through
how evil and
checkpoints
vicious people are
to one another because of how they've grown up and what they've been told about the other group. It's hard to reconcile when you've always been told something negative about the other group.
Right.
And so what you've been hearing and what's subconsciously
and what's the
is
truth
in your
are
mind.
different. And what the truth is different. I mean, the way they used to treat, well, they still treat people of color all kind of different kind of sideways. And it's like the rules are set up for one group to succeed and for the other group to be dismembered and disavowed and just, be deleted from the human race when that's not their call. Okay, but even when, let's go back to the biblical time. I remember reading somewhere in the Bible where they told, this is in the Old Testament, when they was telling the people, listen, you got to batten down the hatches. And then when they batten down the hatches, and they said God told them, okay, you need to go and annihilate these people so that they don't have any heirs living. Their bloodline cannot be continued. Wipe them off the face of the planet. And when all of them didn't get wiped off the face of the planet, then all HE double hockey started again. And it's like a cyclical craziness that keeps coming. And that's the part that gets me, that they put, well, one of the many things that gets me is that they put religion, not faith, religion as the head, as their cornerstone for. You don't believe what I believe, so there's something wrong with you. You don't believe what I believe. I'm telling you what to believe, but you don't want to believe that. And then when you realize for yourself that this is not a doctrine that you want to follow, well, then you become the enemy.
Well, first of all, I mean, the story is far more complicated because it's based on thousands and thousands of years of one group not liking another. I mean, the United States has only been around for 100 years, but you're talking about
thousands of years
that have been around for thousands of years. And to say, well, this is an easy way to figure it out or decide who's right or who's wrong. No, there is
Why
no
does it
easy,
have to be a right and a wrong?
I mean, for lack of a better word, right or wrong. I mean, now I would think, well, when you say you don't, I mean, if you believe in one thing, so you believe that this other group is evil, irregardless.
That's what you've been taught.
Because that's what you've been taught. That's what you read in your
That's
Bible.
what you grow up with.
Okay, but if you're growing up and you believe in that, well, then you have very little tolerance or wanting to listen to that other side because that's what you've been told all your life. If you had a chance to step away, I mean, and live someplace else where you're not growing up in that violence, in that particular circumstances, you would think differently because you're not involved in that on a day in and day out basis.
That what you just said is one of my biggest foundations for saying, especially in America, that we ought to be teaching our children about other cultures. You don't have to agree with it, but let them know that might not be the only way to think. And I think a lot of it is when you tell a kid one thing and they grow up and then they find out that you've been telling them a lie. Either you're going to go with them or you're going to run away from them. I mean, I don't know how many people have been separated from their family members, from the people that they love because of religious reasons, and then you get people who come from different religious faithful backgrounds and they get along just fine. But you got to be listening to one part or one party or the other party. Not that you can't listen to both of them. Like this is something I didn't know. Let me get this out. This is something I did not realize. I did not know this until it was taught to me, that Jewish women are not allowed to get a divorce unless her husband says so. And you think about people in the Middle East, single women can't come outside without being accompanied by a male relative, or their father, their grandfather, their brothers. They are not allowed to be out in public without a man's, accompaniment, or maybe they believe that's what they. Yeah,
when I say companionship,
is it companionship or is it dictatorship? Because you don't give her enough credit to think that she could go out in the world by herself and come back.
Okay, it's not about thinking that she can do something by herself. That's where we cross religion and their religious background said, okay, a woman should not be out unaccompanied. That's in the book, in their Bible.
Mhm.
Okay, well, if you're believing what you're reading, then it's not uncommon or foreign to you. If you grew up in that, if you grew up as a Muslim in the Middle East, and this is the custom that women are not allowed to be out by themselves. They have to be accompanied, escorted by either the father, the brother, uncle,
A male
a
companion.
male companion. They're not allowed to be out by themselves.
Mhm.
Well, if you grew up that way, well, then that's how you think too, though. I mean, it's not like that's something foreign to you because that's all you've known, and that's all you see people around you doing. If everybody's doing the same thing, does it seem
It
like
must be right. That's what they
seems
think.
more right than wrong because you once again you said, oh well, everybody's doing this. Oh, and it doesn't
See,
seem
that's why you got to
strange.
be able to discern what it is for yourself. Just you don't do it just because everybody else is doing it.
Okay,
You know,
but
when we grew
religion
up,
is
wait a minute, when we grew up, there's when and your parents said, well, everybody, you tell your parents, well, everybody else is doing it. So if somebody come to you and say, Mr. Kennedy, I want you to jump off this cliff, just because everybody else is doing, you gonna jump off the cliff? No, you got to be able to have the information that you can discern this is a good thing, and I can jump off the cliff or and go with the rest of the people. I can make my own decision,
okay,
and I
we're
decide
in
to turn
religion.
around and not. This is in
Okay,
life,
okay,
period.
wait a minute. Once again,
Why you keep telling me to wait a minute? I told you 15
okay,
times.
wait a minute. When I say once again, listen
And he
to
still said,
okay
wait a minute, wait a
about
minute.
the religion and what you're saying it based on how you think. I said if you grew up in that religion, you would think differently because that is how everybody in the group acts. Okay, that group. Okay, if they are accustomed that when women go out, they're accompanied by their father, their brother, their uncle. Okay, but then that's all you know. It's not that it's saying about you not being able to think on your own. Is that this is what you've been taught that this is what women do.
Okay, that ain't
this is
what women do. That is not what women
It's
do.
not what women do in America, right? And over in the Middle East, they do. So I'm saying you have to place yourself in that situation before you say, well, no, it doesn't make sense. It only doesn't make sense to you because you grew up here and you didn't have to do that. If you had grew up under that and that was something that you did all the time as a child growing up, why would you think differently?
Well, I grew up when people were separate. You know, they were the people in America was like, the white people are the superior race, and black people and brown people, and anybody that doesn't look like me has to be wrong, and I get to dictate to them what they should do, what they should think, who they should marry, how they should marry, and they don't give them. You don't have. I mean, even in America, a lot of people that come from different backgrounds still want to arrange marriages because that was to make sure the bloodline stayed pure. You know, they got the endowment or what. Okay, but that wasn't ancient time. That came over here too.
Okay, but when it started over there.
Okay.
It started in Europe. It started in Africa. It started thousands of years ago. It didn't just start overnight. That's something that women they've always practiced over there because you didn't grow up over there. You didn't see that this is how they practice their way of living, how they practice their way of going about day-to-day lives. You grew up in a different society that treated women differently, so you have a different way of thinking because you grew up differently.
I grew up in a society that did not value women. Women should stay barefoot.
They should
stay barefoot and pregnant and being in the house. So it was a different kind of oppression. Because we are, as soon as you walk into the room, they're gonna see a black man, they're gonna see a black woman, even though I'm not black,
they see women. Okay, we're talking about women on how they treat. Okay, you brought up treating women, how they treat women. Okay, over there, how they
treat kids and everybody.
Okay, but
I mean, you talking about children are being slaughtered over somebody's ideology, and that's all right. They don't even get a chance to have
once again, nobody said that it was all right. The point that was being made is that if you grew up in a different society, you think differently because that's the society you grew up in. That's all.
But what about when you started
right or wrong? Because if you grew up over there,
what about the people that grew up over there and don't want to be there, and they come to the United States, or they go to Australia? They go to
then they don't want to be under that.
Exactly.
They don't want to live that way, but they left there and came here
or wherever they went,
to be able to conduct themselves differently. They left from over there and came over here. I mean, when Jewish people leave Israel and move to America, do they actually expect everything that's happening in Israel to be happening here in America? No, because the population is not just Jewish and Muslim. So you're not coming to the same circumstances that you left.
Right.
When you come to America, you're around Christians. The majority of the country is Christian. So you left Judaism, you left Muslim, and came to Islam and came to America under Christianity. Through
Okay,
three
but a
different
lot of
faiths.
them,
Through
a
three
lot,
different faiths.
well, a lot of them come so that they can exercise their freedom of religion, their freedom of speech, because they felt like, well, they were being persecuted and prosecuted and murdered because of the way they think. I mean, you think just like the stuff that's, stories you hear about Vladimir Putin, where he pushing people out the window or poisoning people who don't agree with what he said and what he do.
But that's not religion. That's
no,
him wanting to be a
that's just
dictator to
right.
stay in power.
Right.
To keep his power and keep control over the people.
That's what they wanted, even though they want to keep control over. Everybody wants to rule the world. They do. And I don't understand why. I mean, because there's enough for everybody. There's enough food. There's enough housing. I just read this too about housing. There are 650,000 Americans who are homeless. They call them the unhoused now. And so you think about what our communities are going through, 650,000 people that are homeless, unhoused here in the United States, where there are millions over in the Middle East and different parts of the world that are unhoused.
Yeah.
You look at these countries and it's like, okay, let me do all I can. I know you already suppressed, but let me just suppress you some more. Let me just tell you how much more I want to dictate over you and what I think you should be doing. It's the same.
Well, that's part of reality. I mean, it depends on where you grew up at. And saying, well, why is this? Women, we grew up in America under
under racism.
Okay, but you still grew up over here. Okay, growing up over there in the Middle East, if you're growing up under Islam and you're growing up under their teachings and their beliefs, you act differently because that's how you're being raised and taught to do. When you grow up here in America and you've been taught to believe as a Christian, you grow up thinking a different way. As a Muslim, I mean, okay. As someone who believes in the Jewish faith, okay,
Judaism.
When you first were scattered around the world, and you were in Europe, and then after World War II, after what Hitler, his great sin of killing 6 million Jews,
or
more. Well, it was more. Unfortunately, it's a shame before God. Yes, it was more than that. That was just the round number that they was able to come up with. It was probably far more than that because they burnt a lot of records. They destroyed a lot of records, so people would not have any way of being able to go back and trace that.
Right, and they stole everything from the. And it's like, we'll pick a group. Hitler picked the Jews, and that was a group that they kept telling people in Germany they are animals. They this, they that, and the third. And then you want to decide, well, I can just wipe them out. What happened with in the Bible, so it must be all right to annihilate a whole nation of people just so I can have my way. Well, that's why we got classes.
But you also look at it. It comes down to the circumstances that they found themselves. Poverty is what was one of the fueling factors to that, because you picked on a group. You said, okay, well, blame all our woes and bad times on this particular group, versus saying that we as people in Germany, as Germans, we made it. We didn't do things right, but you chose a group and said, okay, we want to choose this group and say that it's all because of them that all my woes happened. And you got a lot of people to buy into that. We didn't make it right because you got them to buy into that, but that's why we end up having World War I and World War II, because Hitler said, I'm trying to tell you that this is the right way to be and the only way to be. And everybody,
and we'll steal everything they've worked for. They got control of the art department, the art world. They got control of the banks. We got to break them down to nothing because we want to have that control. And how dare they?
Think about the Roman Empire. Okay, they ruled all the known world. If it was known, they
want to conquer.
Okay, the Ottoman Empire. The British Empire. The Spanish Empire. I mean, different groups at different times in history have controlled a large portion of this planet.
Everybody wants to rule
and to say that which group is right and which group is wrong, a lot of times come down to what you believe or don't believe, or that.
What about compromising? What about compromising and getting to the real?
Well, that's
on both sides.
That's the factor that nullifies a lot of this It's the fact that you become educated.
Right. Oh,
As you become educated, then you can see the fallacies and a lot of these different arguments about to treat this
but
person
then you
wrong
don't get up
or
and
treat
say
that
anything,
person
right?
wrong.
But you don't get up and say anything.
Well, you
It's
may not be
the
able to
like the kids,
at
right?
that
The
particular
kids
time.
that are protesting. You got people, you got pro-Palestinian, you got pro-Israeli, and they're at each other's throat. And my thing is, okay, I get that. I get that. I wonder how many of those protesting people on either side have ever even taken the time to study other people's history, study other people's faith and beliefs, and say, okay, well, I agree with that, or I don't agree with this, or I agree with this and I don't agree with that.
Well, that's
And
one of
that's
the
the
things
whole
about.
purpose of building the United States of America,
But you're
was to
talking
try
about
to
free.
get. I'm talking about when Crazy King met what they call a Mad King George III. He said, go over there, just clean out the prisons, clean out the asylums, and if you make it over there, bully for you. You get to do whatever you want to do. Never taking into consideration that there were people before you got here. Before you got to America, there were, and you decided to name it America. The Native Americans were out doing their thing. They had been here for thousands of years, and then people start, oh well, we discovered America. You ain't discovered America. That's why they changed Columbus Day from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. So
I
because he
mean,
didn't discover it,
okay,
that was a lie that we have been raised on.
okay, but once again, though,
that
okay,
was
the
just a
knowledge
lie.
that wait a minute, the knowledge that you had at that
But
time. Okay,
that's what
wait a
I'm
minute,
saying.
at that time, you can go back and you can look at things in history and say, well, wait a minute, this one truly accurate. But at the time when it was out there and it was being known by the general public, it was accurate because at the time that's a lot
All
of
they
the people
knew.
that they knew. I mean, the fact
But then
that
when you found out that they've been pushing on whatever your culture, whatever your religion, and the elders have been pushing you on this and pushing, having you believe that this is the right way to live life,
yeah,
and then you find out that maybe some of this is not right, or you find out that you can deal with your culture and you don't have to be out here in this this crazy complicated world. Think about Amish people. They raise their children. They don't figure like you don't need all of these devices, and you don't need all these motor cars. Just stay right here, and the women wear the same color clothes, but they did let them start putting on like pinks and blues and greens, but you still have a certain way that you dress. And one of the things that Amish people do, and I don't know, I don't never think of the Amish people like that's a religious sect, because they too are Christians. So, but they send their teenagers out in the world. What's it called? Rumsfelden, shake, not rum shaker, but you can go out and shake your rump and be out here in the world that's separate from you and separate from the life that so that you can see how other people live. And oftentimes they come back to their to their families and what have you, because they don't want to be out here in this crazy world. And sometimes the kids don't want to go back because they're like, I am living under a depressive group of people, and they want to tell me what to think, tell me what to do. And now I've been out here and I can make my own decisions.
okay,
I mean, that's how teenagers feel. Like, I felt that way when I was like, okay, you know what? I believe I can go out in the world and I can take care of myself. I was 17 and I told my mom, I said, you're not ready. I'm like, yes, mother, I am ready. I am so ready. I can do this. I had been working since I was 14. So I had the independence. And a lot of people don't have the independence to make the decisions for themselves. Other people think, well, I can make a better decision for you than you can. Like our male politicians in America don't tell women, I can tell you a better way to live your life. If you want to, your whole pregnancy, we just gonna tell you we don't care what happens, how it happens. You don't get the choice to terminate a pregnancy. You don't get a choice to say what the decisions are over your body. I do. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And people in power want to run everything.
But one of the things that I've suggested to you on that is that women as a whole should say, well, then there are rules and things that we want to impose upon men who get us pregnant that they have to abide by then. If you're being told that you can't have an abortion, that you can't do this or you can't do that, that your options are limited, then why not want to impose limitations and rules and regulations on the men who got you pregnant? I mean, that would make that would give men and people in general, not just only men but women too, to think, wait a minute, if we also wanted to impose, okay, restrictions on you, just like you want to impose restrictions on me, it may make you think differently because right now the situation is one-sided. Just one sided, saying we are punishing women, their doctors, for doing anything to help you and with your situation, with no punishment being inflicted upon the man who helped, who without him you would not have been pregnant to start
in the
with.
first place.
That's what I'm saying about by making it more equitable. Men would think about it more practical. If you said, wait a minute, now if you got me pregnant, you have to take care of the child for the next 18 years.
25, because they want to raise the
okay,
but I get
whatever
you.
the limit is,
Right, I get
that
you.
you have no out, that you can't, if you can't
You
file
make no
bankruptcy,
decision.
you can't do anything, but have to be financially responsible for this human being for the next 18 years. Men would think far differently about these rules that they're imposing on women and doctors right now. If the rules would put on them, that if you say give these rules for them, these are the rules that now men have to abide by. Who got the man who got you pregnant
Right.
have to abide by. For 18 years, he can't get around it. He has to give whatever support that's deemed for that particular location that you happen to be in, because every state is different with the amount of money that's needed to raise a child. That if you impose these same limit restrictions on men, men would think differently about imposing rules and regulations on you because they had some imposed upon them that they couldn't get out of. They're telling you you can't get out of having it. You have to, you can't have an abortion. We don't care what happened. If you said, okay, well now you have to financially take care of this human being that's been brought on this planet for the next 25 or 18
woman.
years. That no matter how it happened, the fact that you
can make a decision.
that you made this decision to get her pregnant, you have to be financially responsible. Men and women alike would think differently, would totally think differently if that was the case.
Fellas back in the day, they didn't even think that. You go tell a fella, well, I'm pregnant. Well, he responds first thing, is that my baby? Am I the baby's daddy? Or so what you gonna do about it? What do you mean? What am I going to do about it? What do you mean? What are we going? What will be the decision that we make? Not somebody else's. Not somebody else's decision. It should be, brought to the attention straight up right away. Especially when you want to get involved in a relationship. You need to tell people. And nowadays, young women are saying, I don't want to bring a child into this world. I don't want to be pregnant. I don't have to have kids to be happy. I don't even want to get married. And we're seeing that more and more. This would be my take. Go get the book from Greek mythology about the Lysistrata. Back in the day, this group of people, one of their rituals were before the men went to war, they could just whoremonger and just have as much sex as they want to, eat up a whole pig if that's what they wanted to do. And they said, okay, well, after you've gotten your fill, then we can go to war. So Lysistrata decided, because both sides were tired of their husbands fighting each other over like stupid stuff. It's going to be the women that fix this. I know y'all know. But nonetheless, she got all the ladies together on both sides of whoever they were going to be battling, whoever they were going to go to war with. And these women sat down and decided, well, we'll just stop the ritual when it comes time. Because they said they couldn't go to war if they didn't have sex and gluttony before they go to war. So the women said, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're not having sex with y'all. And they kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. So the two fractions decided, okay, well, this is not worth going to war over. And it's Greek mythology, but I just don't give them any. If women stop just giving their bodies away to anybody, and then you have to put these together, to have somebody be sexually and brutally assaulted to the point they get pregnant and they've destroyed, this woman's protection about, that we were growing up to realize to think that men will always be protectors. I didn't grow up with that. My mother said, you stand on your own 2 feet. And that's what I learned to do. And so when you got in a situation where you've been raped, by strangers, by members of your family, or incest is going on and your uncle done got you pregnant and you 15 years old. Oh, they want to take none of that into consideration. Oh, no, your relative could continue to be a rapist, but you can't say that he's a rapist. You could continue and say this, that's really not rape, Like they used to say, men couldn't rape their wives. Rape is a violent act forced upon a woman, and some men get raped too. I found that out. they get sexually assaulted too. And there's got to be, well, we had it for 50 years, Roe v. Wade. So you can make your own decisions. Your doctor could tell you, you know what, this is what's going to happen. And with the technology that we have, you know, they can find out in utero, you know, if the baby's going to be born with any kind of limitations or abnormalities and what have you. And then what do? You done forced me to bring a child into the world, and this is a special needs child. So that means from 0 to 18, you might have to take care of this child in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy, you know, or Down syndrome, or whatever the case is for the rest of their lives. So dude doesn't have to come in and do anything.
But once again, though, that's because of how the laws are. That's why I mentioned when we first brought this up. I was saying if you change and made men have to be far more responsible, so like they're saying that they want to force women to be far more responsible about the situation, that we want you to be responsible to the fact that you don't have an option on what you want to do. We're telling you what the women. I'm saying that women should ask for the same thing from the man. If that's the case, that I have to have this child, then you should have to financially take care of this child for the next 18 to 25 years, whichever the number is. Men would think differently about forcing you to do something, because they wouldn't want to financially be forced to have to be responsible for you for the next 18 years.
And if your child is born with any kind of you know, special needs, I was reading a story online the other day, and it just broke my heart. The little boy, he's about 9 years old, and he has cerebral palsy, and he has a few other limitations. And so when he wasn't born what everybody thought was a perfect baby, a perfectly healthy baby. He was married to this woman, and he said to this woman, the mother of his child, and to his child, well, I wish I had a real son, and I can't deal with this. And he left her. So what do you do about that? Is the court gonna mandate that he come back and take care of that baby?
I'm not mandating that he has to come back, because I'm not saying that you have to. If the case happened to be where you were raped and you can see the child, I'm not saying that it is. I would not want to mandate it that man would have to come back and be in your life. So the man who raped you would have to be in your life. They would have to give financial support. I'm not saying they have to be in your life.
Right.
Because, we got to stop and think about how we are setting things up
for the people, future.
For that child, for you, that person, because you may not have known that person. Right. And then to say, well, financially, do you have to be in that? As the rapist, do you have to be there all the time?
No, well, mostly, hopefully, they would be in jail.
Well, so then you couldn't be there, but are you tied to that person now for the rest of your life?
But this is what the politicians on the Republican side say. Okay, fine. Oh well, moving on.
Well, I mean, that's why I say once again, women have to step up and say, wait a minute, if this is more, and there's a lot of different ways that a person gets pregnant. When I say get pregnant, that you don't be intended.
There's only one way to get pregnant. There ain't a lot of different ways to get pregnant. The point that
I mean, what I'm saying,
rape doesn't have anything to do with sex.
Okay, what I was saying, there's more than one way to become pregnant. But wait a minute. As a couple, you become pregnant. As a husband or wife, you can become pregnant. You can become pregnant as a single person. So that's what I said. There's more than one way to become pregnant. There's no saying, okay, only way you become pregnant is that you have a husband and you're in a committed relationship. Unfortunately, that does not always happen for millions and millions of people around the world. So no, that's not. I'm saying one way does not fit everyone. But if you're telling women in general that you don't have an option if you become pregnant, well, then the man who got you pregnant should not have an option either about financially helping to take care of. That's the point that I'm making. That he should not have an option.
Right. If you don't
give her an option, why would he get an option? That's what I'm saying. It's not being more fair, and people would think differently if that was the case too, though. See, it's easy to tell someone now you have to have a child. I mean, but a lot of these folks who end up, cheating on their significant other and gets the woman pregnant. Okay, if that woman that you get pregnant can't have an abortion, that she has to have that child, what is that going to do to your family? Do your other family? Okay, you was out cheating around, so you weren't expecting your family to find out that you had another child. Now that you might be financially responsible for the next 18 years. See, it would change how people think if they knew that. If I had a family, and then I was out messing around with some woman on the side, and she got pregnant. Now, because she can't have an abortion, because I'm saying no, you can't. She can't have an abortion, so she will have to have that child. If I was now financially responsible for the next 18 to 25 years to take care of that child, that would make him, her, and his wife, all y'all would be thinking differently now because of the circumstances have changed dramatically. Before, okay, you snuck out, you had it. Yes, she could have had an abortion before. Now you're saying that you don't want to allow her to have one. Well, if that child comes in the world, what did that do to your family over here on this end, on that side?
Well, they should have been thinking about that, because it's just crazy that people think they could be married and have an affair and have two separate families, and everything is going to be all right. Like nobody's ever going to find out about it. I won't know. And it's one of my favorite movies. It's a guilty pleasure, I have to say, but it was very entertaining. Google this one: The Incredible Mr. Pennypacker. Mr. Pennypacker was married. He got a house full of kids, and he's very well off, and he traveled.
A good paying job.
Yeah, he had a great paying job.
Yeah.
So his kids were, they're different ages and what have you, and he's doing this, that, and the third, and everybody's lovely. Well, one of his older sons came home, and he wanted to introduce his new girlfriend to the family. Well, the Incredible Mr. Pennypacker, what people didn't know that he was doing incredibly well, he had two families.
Oh.
He had two families. One, he traveled, and the second person, the second woman, she knew that he traveled all around wherever he was traveling.
So both of them, he was the salesman.
Right. So he was, he would be gone for long stints at a time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, like a big
unusual.
deal. Yeah. So, and he always came back, with, just loving on his family. And come to find out, his oldest son had fallen in love with the other wife's oldest daughter.
Okay.
And when the Incredible Mr. C, when you're doing dirt, it's going to all come out, going to all come to the light when you be lying. And he never felt like he was lying to his wives. He just never told them that he had another family.
Well, he knew he was lying.
They didn't know he was lying until
I guess not, because he didn't mention it to
her. No.
Okay, wait a minute. You would have known if I came home and said, okay, well, by the way, mother love, I have a family, around the corner, now that I have them, let it be okay.
Okay, yeah.
Basically,
so, that's really what they said was, he said, listen, I love my children. I love all of my children, because he kept telling, you can't marry her. You can't marry her. You can't marry her. And he kept saying, why? Then finally he came out with, because that's your sister.
Or they didn't look a little bit alike at all. No resemblance.
You know what I'm trying to be, because it's
when I think about
movie.
it, because they had the same father, even though they didn't have the same mothers, they still had the same father. So
they had some kind of genetic link to
link. And the fact that's why you have family reunions for one thing, so people get to know who their cousins and relatives are, because sometimes the world is not as big as we think it is. It can be
they always say, the scientists said that all human beings are 6 degrees separated. So you could go back 6 generations and find people that you are related to. And then when you figure it out, you're like, oh man, it's gonna all come up.
Well,
he said he wasn't, the son said he really wasn't, it never registered to him. He just thought, I found somebody.
Okay, but why would it register?
She finds somebody who got her.
Wait a minute, there's no reason for it to have registered.
Right.
Because
you believe everything your father say. And
not only that you believe what they say, is that, okay, your father never came home and said, oh, okay, by the way, I have another family that happen to be, on the other side of town. If you happen to stumble across them, because maybe you might run into them at a game or an event, or any kind of incident where you may come into contact with them, end up getting to know them, but because one group know about the other all the time, sometimes when you have a second family, the second family knows more about the first family than the first family knows about the second family.
Right.
So the second family knows, okay, the father said, okay, well, you got brothers and sisters, because I'm actually married to this woman here, and I have a family over here. But I like your mother enough that spend time with her to the point where now we have kids together. I'm still coming over here helping to raise these kids, but I do have a family over here.
And I think, to my best recollection, he had a lot of kids with both women.
Yes. And so
he was making babies for the revolution.
So the possibility of them running across one another was far greater because there's more possibilities of that happening.
Right.
And it's funny how you meet people and you don't know where you met them from, or they can say, well, I know this person, but you don't know that person, and on how you know them.
And sometimes when you said the second family knows more about the first family than the first family knows about the second family. And I remember when we was growing up, and people used to say this all the time, that and I believe that everybody has a doppelganger someplace. We got to look alike someplace. People are always thinking I'm doing something or I was in a commercial. I'm like, no, that is not me. And I don't know how you could
that you look similar.
We look similar because it might have been my sister or it might have been my auntie. You see the familiar traits.
Yes.
Then oftentimes, you're like, girl, please. And I heard kids say, you my sister. I'm not your sister. Because she said, yeah, I'm sister like, and they would go, no, you are my sister. And
because they knew something.
Yeah, they knew something that you didn't know.
Maybe your father actually, when he had this affair and ended up having kids, to try to keep the distance, he had to when he couldn't be there with this group. Sometimes he has to explain to them, I can't be with you because I already have another group already.
Oh, right. But they're not going to say I got another group already. And one of the cool things, he was there.
Group of married. Right. I mean, however you want to phrase it, but you let the person know that there's another group, and that's why your time is divided. And for the sake of unity, a lot of times you just accept the fact, okay, I understand that you have another.
Don't go out there doing that. That's the best way to eliminate that issue. You got to pay attention to what's going on. Speaking of paying attention, shifting gears with the madness that's going on in the New York courtroom with the 45th president, former president of the United States, the 45th, who was sitting on trial. 34 counts against him for fraud. And he's coming out every day. Now, the judge then gave him a gag order. He still get out there and he talked to the people. And he talks at them. It's just a witch hunt. It's just a witch hunt. It's just a witch hunt. He's sitting at the table looking like a petulant child. And this is my take. Okay, it's a witch hunt. We coming after the warlock. Now, you done had to pay out $83.3 million to E. Jean Carroll because you lost that case. You had to pay it in the city of New York. Is it the city of New York or the state of New York? The state of New York. You got to pay them. Letitia James got him on a $355 million fine. So it's like, do you think he's shooting himself in the foot by not shutting up?
Well, sometimes some people can't help the fact that they want to talk, have the need to talk, or because also you're trying to change the opinions and minds of others. By you can come out and tell somebody that you're doing something, and because you repeat it, like when they said repeatedly, they tried to say that the election was stolen. You keep saying that, hoping that people will eventually just
start believing. That's where they got the MAGA people from.
Well, because you're telling somebody to believe something, whether it's true or not. You're hoping to convince somebody to believe it or not, and if they do believe it, then then it works to your advantage. But everybody does not always believe what they hear. It's one of the reasons why you hear jingles and commercials. It's because in your membrane you remember that jingle, so you can go into a store and you see a product. Okay, then your memory says, "Wait a minute, I remember seeing that flash. Oh, I seen that water bottle there before. I saw it on TV, and I liked the commercial that went with that product.
So they call to action,
and then I go and purchase it. We do things like that. I mean, with the former president and him being on trial, he's on trial because he paid. The National Inquiry was doing something that they tell everybody now is known as catch and kill.
You tell the story, and because that was the first witness today, Mr. Pecker.
I don't know why I like saying that.
Yeah, you do. Mr. Pecker, he used to run the Inquiry, right? And it was one of my favorite rag magazines. the National Enquirer. So they had paid people to say for them that, okay, you get the story, but now you kill the story because I don't need to have this out there. Okay, but then you think about all the people that he's had around him, how the White House was like a revolving door of staff people. A lot of the positions that were there available, he never did fill. He forced 3 Supreme Court justices down our throat, knew they were sitting up there lying. Knew it. Knew that Kavanaugh was lying. Knew that they were lying. Ain't nowhere in the world that woman could have sat up there and said, okay, I won't do anything to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's the law of the land. Kavanaugh said the same thing. The other judge said the same thing. And what did they do? As soon as they could get it, they went in there and said, well, we'll give it back to the states. It doesn't need to be a universal situation. So if Ohio says you can't have an abortion, but Texas or not Texas, or California says, yes, you can. So then you come up with those conflicts. And then when they put down, well, we'll arrest and jail doctors for doing their, and they don't understand. It's not just about abortion. It is about women's health. Women's health. Kids can't go, the young people can't go to get birth control. You know, I don't care if your mother signed for it. Well, you're not getting birth control. They'll never say the guys can't. They say, okay, well, you take this whole big vat of condoms and you think about this. Protect yourself, protect her. But no, they don't do that.
Okay, well,
they just
wait a minute, but you can though.
They don't do it. They can, but they don't.
But they can't. That's what I said about communication. It's how you communicate with one another. I mean, if you want to change these laws and say you want women under the disguise of saying you want women to be more responsible, well, then you also should change the laws to make men be more responsible, so that women as responsible, so women won't feel like that the burden is only on them. I mean,
that's what you sure that's my baby. Okay, well, I don't know. So what are you gonna do about it? What am I gonna do about it?
I mean, with the National Enquirer, okay,
the catch and kill story, because they said they found out that they think he got an outside child outside of where he
it was alleged, but then that story was another one.
It was catch and kill.
The fact that he was not the only person. So I mean, I would no one to think that Donald Trump was the only person ever that the National Enquiry did a catch and kill story for. No, he was not the only one. No,
I know that.
He wasn't the first,
and he won't be the last.
No, the fact that they do that on a basis, but
power and control. Wait a minute, then I heard that they had paid a doorman $30,000 in hush money so he wouldn't say this.
Yeah, well, his was about the alleged other child.
Right.
Okay, well, so in one breath, you say, okay, tell me your story. He tells the story. Then you say, okay, we'll offer you. In this case, they offered $30,000 for him to say, okay, you
to not say anything about it.
You don't speak about the story anymore. If somebody asks you about it, just tell them you ain't got no knowledge. You don't know nothing.
I know nothing about it.
Because you've been paid not to.
Right.
Not that the story
like Stormy
was not
Daniels,
true.
They paid her, and what is it? McDougal. I can remember her last name. McDougal. She was a Playboy playmate.
Okay,
and they paid her to not say anything.
Because once again, though, as your star rises, anybody's star, as your star rises, they can always try to find people to come out of the woodwork and say, "Well, I remember back when." Okay, before your star got as bright as it is now, you recall you did something over here, and people might be interested in hearing that. I mean, that's what made the National Enquiry That's what made the National Enquiry what it is today. It was that you were willing to say, okay, look, here's the rich and famous. We're gonna mention stories about the rich and famous that the average person will want to know about, and we choose which stories
inquiring minds want
to know. You choose what stories we want you to know about, because yes, and in order for you to say, okay, even with Stormy Daniels, using her
Stormy Daniels,
for instance, okay, when he was running for president in 2016, okay, so somebody came along to mention her. Oh wow, you remember you told us a long time ago that a while ago that you had an affair with the guy running for office. Oh, well, a lawyer probably came to her and said, well, here's a way for you to make some money off of that. Okay, well, if we start dropping little hints that you have this story to tell, there are people who will offer you money for you to either tell your story or not to tell your story,
or sell it to me at the National Enquirer, and I'll catch the story and kill it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People are willing to buy your story, okay, because you just as yourself is not a loud enough mouthpiece. If you sell it to the
Oh, he's
National
a
Enquirer,
liar. Mhm.
no, if you sell it to the National Enquirer, because there's
becomes
the
more-
national
mhm.
right, everybody gets the chance to read it and talk about it. I mean, it's the same thing about so many other celebrities that the National Enquirer says, okay, we have some this on this. We've heard about this celebrity. We've heard that about this celebrity. 90% of the time, it has some truth to it.
Right, because
Not-
then
not
it would be called
100%.
slander.
Because,
Just like Carol Burnett was able to sue them, and
but she was one of the few. When you
Right.
think about it, she was one of the few out of
All-
thousands of folks that have been mentioned in these papers that was able actually to sue and win.
Mhm.
The majority of them, even though they may not like it and they may disagree and say, well, what they're saying is not true, 90% of them don't get a chance to sue. Because that means that there's some truth probably in the story to the point where
But there was
do they
no
really
truth
want
about
do they
that.
really want do they really want all
There
of it to
was
come
no
out?
truth to the way that they did it. They
About Carol Burnett, that was
Yeah.
different. Wait a minute, but her, I said there's only a few that people who have been successful
Right.
to have been able to sue the National Enquirer about a story that they wrote about them and said, well,
and it
I'm
was
taking them to
slanderous,
court.
and it was libel. They were,
But
and
the
they
fact
found
that
like they were
that
found
wasn't
liable.
true. I mean, I said, but majority of them
Right.
never don't go to court. The majority of the people who are mentioned in that newspaper, in that weekly newspaper, do not go out and sue the National Enquirer about the story. They may not like the story. They may not want you to read the story.
Right.
But the fact that it's out there and millions of people do read that magazine to know what's going on.
Okay. What is your take on the judge giving him putting a gag order on him? He walks right out of the courtroom, breaks the gag order, threatening the judge, threatening the jurors, threatening the staff, threatening their families. He really need to be in jail. I think he really needs to be in jail, because if that were you or I, we would have been up under the jail, sucking air through a flavor strap.
Well,
Get a little sip
first
like-
of all, if it had been you or I, if you had went out there and started making mention, there would already been repercussions a long time ago.
Right.
So you wouldn't still be able to do it. He's only able to do it because of his stature and who he is. The fact that they're having a hearing tomorrow morning before the testimony resumes in the trial to talk about him going out there talking about people that are participating in the trial, because normally you're not allowed to do that. Go out and badmouth because you're trying to taint the jury yourself when you're doing that. But if you're going out there,
it'll be a mistrial. They're gonna believe some of it, but then he comes out and he says that he don't have anything. It had Michael Cohen going to jail to have anything to do with him. He didn't know nothing. Now had been his attorney, for years and years, and he knew where the bodies were buried. And then once he got caught up, he told him, he said, "Look, I lied about it, and I'm sorry." Judge said, "Okay, fine, you going to jail." So I don't understand how he thinks none of this has anything to do with him, but they're doing it for him. Like the people,
well, that's why you want to believe.
Right.
Don't believe your lying.
Don't who you gonna believe? Me or
Now,
your lying?
I work for you, and I went to jail because I skirted the law and what I did. But I broke the law. I broke the law on your behalf.
Right.
But now I end up getting punished for my part in this,
and I take responsibility for it.
Well, you took responsibility.
No, I'm saying that's what Michael Cohen said.
Okay, well, I mean, and what I'm saying is that you're saying you went to jail because of this incident.
For your part in this.
In this, you're saying now, okay, if they're after the other guy who had something else to do with this, and the guy that and the ex person is saying, well, I'm saying that he did it all on his own. Okay, how believable is that I would have just went out here for a stranger? Went for a stranger. I'm not even gonna go there because that's misleading the situation.
Right.
I went out here for somebody that I was working for.
This was his boss.
This was his boss, and this story was starting to come around about this woman here has a story to tell about an affair that she claimed that she had with you.
Mm-hmm.
You
in detail
that you believed it enough to the point where you was willing to pay to keep it covered up.
Right.
So you have to believe in it. That's what I said about with the National Enquirer, that most people have to stop and realize the reason why most people never end up suing the National Enquirer about a story that they mentioned about them, because some parts of the story was correct. Maybe not all of it, but some parts of it, because that's how you could come out and say, well, they're lying about this particular part. Not to say they lying about everything, but I can pick out one thing that was
Wait a minute,
mentioned
and this is what
and said you lied about that.
I was just, I don't know why I was dumbfounded that he comes out and goes, he's just a liar. He's a lying liar. That's what he does. He has no credibility. Okay, now this is the cat.
But you hired somebody with no credibility,
right?
I mean, see, that's the part that
what happens. I got the best people. I'm gonna have the best people.
But then I said about you. Do you believe your lying eyes or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in one breath, I tell you, I hire the best people, that I associate with the best people. But then when somebody in my orbit
disagrees with me,
not
off with their heads.
Well, not so much even disagree. It's the fact that when he went to jail, then you say, okay, I want to disassociate myself with them. Before they were in your camp. But when they go to jail or get accused of something, then you quickly disassociate yourself with them because they've fallen on hard times. But my lying eyes supposed to believe that you didn't know this person? Yes, you did know this person. To say that Michael Cohen was a liar and he lies a lot. What you didn't mind his lies? Wait a minute, you didn't mind his lies when he was working for you. Obviously, the lies worked in your favor, so you were okay with it. But to say now he's a liar, okay, if you say he's a liar, okay, was he a liar when he was working for you? Was he lying?
Or did he have your back, whatever was going on?
Was he lying?
And like the guy that was running the financial part of their enterprise, of their organization, had been with them for 40 years. So you're going to be with somebody for 40 years, and now you're going to say, well, that happened. I don't know why he's talking like that. He said, I'm talking like that because I get immunity. I'm going to tell him everything I know. I'm not going to jail for you.
No, but think about this.
He got 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of books.
I mean, think about this. Even like in baseball, we talk about not believing your lying eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have Ohtani, who's the pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he came from the Los Angeles Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he signed this 10-year, $750 million deal. Okay, now to find out after he signed and spring training has got started, that all of a sudden now the FBI comes up and says, well, your interpreter is stole $16 million. 16. Wait a minute. Grapple with that.
It's hard. It's hard to grapple with that. Million.
Not $6,000. Not $600.
Not $60,000.
But $16 million.
Gambling debts.
Well, they said he used it for gambling. But I said, but
you don't think he was the only one gambling? Are you implying that Ohtani is involved with this?
Okay.
With this?
Once again, don't believe your lying eyes. Okay, wait a minute. So you as my interpreter, Mother Love. Okay, wait a minute. You as my interpreter, Mother Love. You asked me, well, Mr. Kennedy, I need one of your credit cards, and you give me the 4-digit code so I can make withdrawals when need be
on your behalf. It was supposed to be.
Wait a minute. Did I say on your behalf? See, you added that on your behalf.
Now you add too many words to the request.
Because what they want you to believe is that he gave his card willingly to his interpreter and told his other handlers, okay, this interpreter
has access to my bank account.
Has access to this particular bank account. I don't know if it was for all of his bank accounts or with just this one in particular.
But he had access.
But you had told your other people in your circle, in your camp, that the interpreter had access to this particular card. And your interpreter said, okay, and
must have been a black American Express card.
And in turn, I would use $16 million from this account that you told the other handlers, my other handlers, that the interpreter had access to this account, that they believed it, because there's no way you could have went in the bank and say, okay, I need to withdraw $200,000 this week. And they said, wait a minute, but you ain't Ohtani. You're the interpreter. But okay, how did I have authorization to take out any kind of money where the bank never went back to you?
Never questioned.
As the primary owner of this account and said, wait a minute, do you know that your interpreter has took $16 million? I mean, $1 million out of this account in the past 3 months? In the past 3 months, did you know that this person took out $8 million? That the bank would have never informed you as the owner of that account that these kind of paid?
See, that's the part that I didn't understand.
I don't get that part. I must not believe my lying eyes.
The bank calls us and informs us of a possible fraud alert.
They think something is wrong.
Yeah, they think something is wrong.
That's
all. So why? Yeah. That's
why
a good
how
point.
did that not have come across with him? If you take out $500,000,
At a time,
okay,
that's
money,
a lot of money.
and it's not my account. But the bank said, okay, what you got authorization to take out this kind of money? Only way you could have that authorization, you have to be given that.
So you're saying that
But
he was
you
in on
had
that.
to have been given
Wait a
that.
minute, wait a
You
minute,
can't
wait.
take out that
Okay,
kind of money without being authorized.
Wait for 1 minute.
Don't believe my lying eyes.
Because this is something.
I was
wait,
authorized.
let me get it out. Will you let me get it out
I was
on the
authorized.
authorization? You know, because you said this what he said. I know he had something to do, and the Angels should sue the Dodgers.
The Dodgers just sued the Angels.
Right, the Dodgers should sue the Angels because they knew
he had a gambling problem.
I can repeat it almost verbatim.
Because they
Well,
didn't have
just
to know.
babies, you know, it's always a lively conversation with me, you, and Mr. Kennedy, and I appreciate your thoughts about it. It just goes by so fast. Remember to follow me on all the social media platforms, wherever you get your podcast. And remember this: no matter how big or tall, short or small, thick or thin, it matters not what skin you're in. Everybody needs some mother love now and then, and some father love. Know that we love you. Peace.
Peace.